Bible in a Year Live, Chronological Project, Week 31, Day 7, New English Translation. Well-deserved judgment. Then some men from Israel's elders came to me and sat down in front of me. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, these men have erected their idols in their hearts and placed the obstacles leading to their iniquity right before their faces. Should I really allow them to seek me? Therefore, speak to them and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. When anyone from the house of Israel erects his idols in his heart and sets the obstacle leading to his iniquity before his face, and then consults a prophet, I, the Lord, am determined to answer him personally according to the enormity of his idolatry. I will do this in order to capture the hearts of the house of Israel, who have alienated themselves from me on account of all their idols. Therefore, say to the house of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Turn from your idols, and turn your faces away from your abominations. For when anyone from the house of Israel, or the foreigner who lives in Israel, separates himself from me, and erects his idols in his heart, and sets the obstacle leading to his iniquity before his face, and then consults a prophet to seek something from me, I, the Lord, am determined to answer him personally. I will set my face against that person, and will make him an object lesson and a byword, and will cut him off from among my people. Then you will know that I am the Lord. As for the prophet, if he is made a fool by being deceived into speaking a prophetic word, I, the Lord, have made a fool of that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand against him and destroy him from among my people Israel. They will bear their punishment. The punishment of the one who sought an oracle will be the same as the punishment of the prophet who gave it, so that the house of Israel will no longer go astray from me, nor continue to defile themselves by all their sins. They will be my people, and I will be their God, declares the sovereign Lord. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, suppose a country sins against me by being unfaithful, and I stretch out my hand against it, cut off its bread supply, cause famine to come on it, and kill both people and animals. Even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they would save only their own lives by their righteousness, declares the sovereign Lord. Suppose I were to send wild animals through the land and kill its children, leaving it desolate, without travelers due to the wild animals. Even if these three men were in it, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, they could not save their own sons or daughters. They would save only their own lives, and the land would become desolate. Or suppose I were to bring a sword against that land and say, let a sword pass through the land, and I were to kill both animal and peoples. Even if these three men were in it, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, they would not save their own sons or daughters. They would save only their own lives. Or suppose I were to send a plague into that land and pour out my rage on it with bloodshed, killing both people and animals. Even if Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, they could not save their own son or daughter. They would only save their own lives by their righteousness. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. How much worse will it be when I send my 4 terrible judgments, sword, famine, wild animals, and plague, to Jerusalem to kill both people and animals? Yet some survivors will be left in it. Sons and daughters will be brought out. They will come out to you, and when you see their behavior and their deeds, you will be consoled about the catastrophe I have brought on Jerusalem for everything I brought on it. They will console you when you see their behavior and their deeds, because you will know that it was not without reason that I have done everything which I have done in it, declares the sovereign Lord. Burning a useless vine. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, of all the woody branches among the trees of the forest, what happens to the wood of the vine? Can wood be taken from it to make anything useful? Or can anyone make a peg from it to hang things on? No, it is thrown in the fire for fuel. When the fire has burned up both ends of it, it is charred in the middle. Will it be useful for anything? Indeed, if it was not made into anything useful when it was whole, how much less can it be made into anything when the fire has burnt it up and it is charred? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Like the wood of the vine is among the trees of the forest, which I have provided as fuel for the fire, so I will provide the residents of Jerusalem as fuel. I will set my face against them. Although they have escaped from the fire will still consume them. Then you will know that I am the Lord, when I set my face against them. I will make the land desolate, because they have acted unfaithfully, declares the sovereign Lord. God's unfaithful bride. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her abominable practices, and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says to Jerusalem. Your origin and your birth were in the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite, and your mother a Hittite. As for your birth, on the day you were born, your umbilical cord was not cut, nor were you washed in water. You were certainly not rubbed down with salt, nor wrapped with blankets. No, I took pity on you to do even one of these things for you, to spare you. You were thrown out into the open field, because you were detested on the day you were born. I passed by you and saw you kicking around helplessly in your blood. I said to you as you lay there in your blood, live. I said to you as you lay there in your blood, live. I made you plentiful like sprouts in a field. You grew tall and came of age so that you could wear jewelry. Your breast had formed and your hair had grown, but you were still naked and bare. Then I passed by you and watched you, noticing that you had reached the age for love. I spread my cloak over you and covered your nakedness. I swore a solemn oath to you and entered into a marriage covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. Then I bathed you in water, washed the blood off you, and anointed you with fragrant oil. I dressed you in embroidered clothing and put fine leather sandals on your feet. I wrapped you with fine linen and covered you with silk. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your hands and a necklace around your neck. I put a ring in your nose, earrings on your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. You were adorned with gold and silver, while your clothing was of fine linen, silk, and embroidery. You ate the finest flour, honey, and olive oil. You became extremely beautiful and attained the position of royalty. Your fame spread among the nations because of your beauty. Your beauty was perfect because of the splendor which I bestowed on you, declares the sovereign Lord. But you trusted in your beauty and capitalized on your fame by becoming a prostitute. You offered your sexual favors to every man who passed by so that your beauty became his. You took some of your clothing and made for yourself decorated high places. You engaged in prostitution on them. You went to him to become his. You also took your beautiful jewelry, made of my gold and my silver I had given to you, and made for yourself male images and engaged in prostitution with them. You took your embroidered clothing and used it to cover them. You offered my olive oil and my incense to them. As for my food that I gave you, the fine flour, olive oil, and honey I fed you, you placed it before them as a soothing aroma. That is exactly what happened, declares the sovereign Lord. You took your sons and your daughters whom you bore to me, and you sacrificed them as food for the idols to eat. As if your prostitution was not enough, you slaughtered my children and sacrificed them to the idols. And with all your abominable practices and prostitution, you did not remember the days of your youth when you were naked and bare, kicking around in your blood. After all of your evil, woe to you, declares the sovereign Lord. You built yourself a chamber and put up a pavilion in every public square. At the head of every street you erected your pavilion, and you disgraced your beauty when you spread your legs to every passerby and multiplied your promiscuity. You engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians, your sexually aroused neighbors, multiplying your promiscuity and provoking me to anger. So, see here, I have stretched out my hand against you and cut off your rations. I have delivered you into the power of those who hate you, the daughters of the Philistines, who were ashamed by your obscene conduct. You engaged in prostitution with the Assyrians because your sexual desires were insatiable. You prostituted yourself with them, and yet you were still not satisfied. Then you multiplied your promiscuity to the land of merchants, Babylonia, but you were not satisfied there either. How sick is your heart, declares the sovereign Lord, when you perform all these acts, the deeds of a bold prostitute, when you build your chamber at the head of every street and put your pavilion in every public square. You are not like a prostitute because you scoffed at payment. Adulterous wife, who prefers strangers instead of her own husband. All prostitutes receive payment, but instead you give gifts to every one of your lovers. You bribe them to come to you from all around for your sexual favors. You are different from other prostitutes because no one solicited you. When you gave payment and no payment was given to you, you became the opposite. Therefore, O prostitute, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because your lust was poured out and your nakedness was uncovered in your prostitution with your lovers, and because of all your detestable idols, and because of the blood of your children you have given to them, therefore, take note, I am about to gather all your lovers whom you enjoyed, both all those you loved and all those you hated. I will gather them against you from all around, and I will expose your nakedness to them, and they will see all your nakedness. I will punish you as an adulteress and murderer deserves. I will avenge your bloody deeds with furious rage. I will give you into their hands, and they will destroy your chambers and tear down your pavilions. They will strip you of your clothing and take your beautiful jewelry and leave you naked and bare. They will summon a mob who will stone you and hack you into pieces with their swords. They will burn down your houses and execute judgments on you in front of many women. Thus, I will put a stop to your prostitution, and you will no longer give gifts to your clients. I will exhaust my anger on you, and then my fury will turn from you. I will calm down and no longer be angry. Because you did not remember the days of your youth and have enraged me with all these deeds, I hereby repay you for what you have done, declares the sovereign Lord. Have you not engaged in prostitution on top of all your other abominable practices? Observe, everyone who quotes Proverbs will quote this proverb about you. Like mother, like daughter. You are the daughter of your mother, who detested her husband and her sons, and you are the sister of your sisters, who detested their husbands and their sons. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father an Amorite. Your older sister was Samaria, who lived north of you with her daughters, and your younger sister, who lived south of you, was Sodom with her daughters. Have you not copied their behavior and practiced their abominable deeds? In a short time, you became even more depraved in all your conduct than they were. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, your sister Sodom and her daughters never behaved as wickedly as you and your daughters have behaved. See here, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had majesty, abundance of food, and enjoyed carefree ease, but they did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and practiced abominable deeds before me. Therefore, when I saw it, I removed them. Samaria has not committed half the sins you have. You have done more abominable deeds than they did. You have made your sisters appear righteous with all the abominable things you have done. So now, bear your disgrace, because you have given your sisters reason to justify their behavior. Because the sins you have committed were more abominable than those of your sisters, they have become more righteous than you. So now, be ashamed and bear the disgrace of making your sisters appear righteous. I will restore their fortunes, the fortunes of Sodom and her daughters, and the fortunes of Samaria and her daughters, along with your fortunes among them, so that you may bear your disgrace and be ashamed of all you have done in consoling them. As for your sisters, Sodom and her daughters will be restored to their former status. Samaria and her daughters will be restored to their former status, and you and your daughters will be restored to your former status. In your days of majesty, was not Sodom your sister a byword in your mouth, before your evil was exposed? Now, you have become an object of scorn to the daughters of Aram, and all those around her, and to the daughters of the Philistines, those all around you who despise you. You must bear your punishment for your obscene conduct and your abominable practices, declares the Lord. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will deal with you according to what you have done when you despised your oath by breaking your covenant. Yet I will remember the covenant I made with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish a lasting covenant with you. Then you will remember your conduct and be ashamed when you receive your older and younger sisters. I will give them to you as daughters, but not on account of my covenant with you. I will establish my covenant with you, and then you will know that I am the Lord. Then you will remember, be ashamed, and remain silent when I make atonement for all you have done, declares the sovereign Lord.